Welcome back to another video. It's Friday and you know what that means.
It is time for Top Fuel Teachers.
Aid, the Mondeo. I thought we weren't stripping that till September.
Yeah, about that, Chris. Students were keen. Obviously, we're not stripping the track car down bodily wise at the moment because we've got it wrapped. So we took some bits off to make the wrap easier.
Excellent.
But the students were keen in trying to get the engine out of the Mondeo.
Oh, bless them.
Let's go and take a look at how they've got on. So as you can see, we have started stripping the ST220 Mondeo down. Start to get the front of it off so we can get more access to the engine and so we can see what we got to do. Hopefully some of the bits we've taken off we might be able to resell on Marketplace or something like that and get some money back to further put into the car and the progression of it. Like I say, the students have been really engaged with this already. Obviously they're going to be learning about the cooling system when we take it off and the brakes, all sorts. As you can see as well, we are labelling every wire that we disconnect. This will just make it easier when we're trying to transplant the wiring loom into the Ford Focus. Because obviously this wiring loom is not meant for a Ford Focus, it's meant for a Mondeo. So it's not going to be a straightforward, easy thing to do. We're going to have to locate a lot of things, fabricate some brackets up, all stuff like that. But we're still pretty confident that we can do it. Like I say, there's going to be loads of things. We'll go over a little list of hurdles that we've already thought we might encounter in a couple of minutes. But like I say, as you can see, it's coming apart well. It does still run. We've run it up a few times. Unfortunately, the back end of it is quite rotten. The rear subframe's rotten, so we won't be able to ever sell that. But we'd never have gone for another MOT. Even if you do know a friendly tester, I'm sure it wouldn't. But the engine, 111,000 miles, and it does run sweet. So yeah, we can't wait to see how it goes once we've got it out, and we can't wait to just let it lay in the engine bay of the Focus and so we can start working out where the engine mount's going to be. Obviously you can see the Ford Focus there. We've started taking some bits off of that, not for the engine swap, but because Maxis are paying for a wrap for it at the beginning of the 6 weeks holiday. So we've just been doing a little bit of prep work, so the guys, when they come out to wrap it, haven't quite got as much work to do for themselves. So yeah, that's why that's looking a bit stripped. But as soon as it's wrapped, and the students are back obviously, we'll carefully take bits apart from that, then we'll rip the engine out of that as well. Engine will be out of this, then we can line it in the frame. The engine mounts are different, we've already noticed that, but we might be able to line them up with 1 or 2 bolts maybe, and that will give us a head start on where we need to get the other ones. But there, so yeah, at the moment it is very rusty, it's not been apart for a long while, so it is giving us some headaches, but it's setting challenges for the students, how to get around things. If they can't undo something one way, then let's look at a different way to undo it. So it gets them thinking. Not all of them like that, but hey, it gets them thinking, gives them a challenge. So Chris, would you go and get our hurdle board?
Let me get it. Here we are, let me get that in shot. How's that looking? Can we see it?
Probably bad, you might have to twist it a bit. That's it.
There we go. Look,
So,
I'll there, look.
let's get in a little bit.
Can we see the top?
So, do you know what? I feel like the BBC or the ITV test girl, remember?
Oh, BBC Two.
Oh, God. Topical. Right, so this is our board with the potential hurdles that we have thought we might come across so far. Up here, I don't know if you can see these on the camera, but up here we've got power steering. Now on the Mondeo, the power steering power steering pump is noisy, and we know that. So the power steering pump is belt driven, so we can get a new pump, but what we're going to look at doing, if we can, the Focus has electric power steering, has an electric power steering pump down in the driver's side front behind the bumper. So obviously that just needs power and live, and does have an ECU with it. So what we're going to try and see if we can do is if we can take the electrics out of the loom from the Focus and put them in the loom for the Mondeo. So we're going to see if we can use the electric power steering from the Focus on the Focus still. So it is a hurdle. It's going to be something that we're going to need to think about and address, but it's one of the things that we're going to look at. Number two, we've got gear change. That's the gear shifter. That's not a big problem. I think it's cable driven on the Mondeo as well. So if we're lucky, the bolt holes for the gear change assembly might be the same, and that'll fit on our little pedestal that we've got, our little podium for the track car. If not, we'll just have to redesign that. Not a big problem. And the other thing is where our gear change cables now go through the bulkhead is higher because we had to make a new hole. We're hoping that will just clear the back bank of the V. It's just something we've got to look out for. Then we've got drive shafts. So the drive shafts are different on them. So whether we can get the Mondeo drive shafts to fit the Focus hubs, if we can, that's amazing, and that's not much of a hurdle. That's something we could that would really help us out. We won't know until we try. If not, there's other ways we could try. If the centre of the bearing on the wheel bearings is the same, we might be able to push the flanges out of the wheel bearings on the Mondeo and put them in the Focus bearings. We'd have to put new bearings because normally they come apart when you push them out. But that might be a possibility. Again, like I say, it's a hurdle that we're going to have to look into once we've got it further apart. Brake master cylinder. Now, because it's a V6, the Mondeo, and it's transverse mounted, the back bank will be very close to the brake master cylinder reservoir, the master cylinder and the servo. Until we get the engine sat in the frame, we're not going to know whether we're going to have clearance issues. So we might have to relocate things. Worst case scenario, we might have to put like a rally style pedal box in there where they each have their own little master cylinder, the clutch, the brake, and it's not a big issue. It's still doable. It's what the rally cars use, so it'll be all right for our track car. But it's just something we need to look at. Also going along with this and the pedal box has electronic throttle on the Focus, which means it's got a little potentiometer on the pedal. The Mondeo is a cable throttle. Again, not a big issue. Maybe drill a hole in the bulkhead. We'll have to use the Mondeo throttle pedal. Not a big issue. We should be able to get around that. Obviously, engine mounts. We just had a quick speak about this. We might have to fabricate some brackets up, some engine mounts up. We might have to drill some new holes in the chassis legs and strengthen it. Don't know, we might be able to use bits from each of them, and if we're really lucky, we might be able to get something done there, which will save us a bit. But again, excuse me, until we get both engines out, and we're trying to put the V in the Focus, we won't know. Fuel pump, we've spoken about this before in a previous video. Worst case scenario, I could get a high pressure fuel pump for the Focus, which should be enough to do the Mondeo engine. I have got for Project D 340 litres per hour, I think it is, something like that. Fuel pump for that, for when we put the bigger turbo on. So the fuel pumps, uprated fuel pumps are available. So we should be able to hopefully do that. But for starters, if we're not, but just to get it running, we'll be able to do it on the standard fuel pump. But before we ever do a track day, when it's going to need a lot more fuel, we'll look at getting the pump done. Cooling system, obviously it's a 1.8, it's a 3 litre. We might have to get a radiator custom made. Unfortunately, Colchester radiators are no longer trading. No, they would have been able to do us a great one. So we might have to look online and get like a Focus one, if we've got the clearance there, that's quite a dual core or something like that, a big Focus one. Wipers, I haven't looked yet. Obviously, if the wiper motor plug is different, then because we're putting the Mondeo Loom in the Focus, if the plug's different, we might just have to rewire the plug to get the wipers to work. Same with the switches on the steering column and all stuff like that. It's all stuff that we've got to think about to do. Again, not that bad, but you know, if we've got to make little brackets up to put the indicators and the wiper switches from the Mondeo and the Focus, or just cut the plugs and rejoin them all, it's something like that. Shouldn't hopefully be too bad. And then we come down to the exhaust as well. Obviously the exhaust is different. Looking underneath, the front subframes are totally different on the cars. The Mondeo has got clearance in other places because it's got obviously 2 downpipes come down, 1 from each V. So we're definitely going to have to get creative and see how we can get the exhausts to work on there. Long term, we're thinking we're going to make our own exhaust up for it and then maybe get it copied in like stainless steel from one of the exhaust companies. That's what we're looking at. It all depends on money at a time, but we're going to try and make our own up to start off with. What we are considering as well is going for a side exit exhaust. Now, bearing in mind, this is going to be our track day tool. We've got to keep it fairly quiet because they are quiet. I think it's 96 decibels, something like that, on a track day limit. So we can't have it obnoxiously loud. So we're going to have a decent silencer in there somewhere, not a muffler, a silencer, but that's not much of an issue. But we are going to possibly look at side Xing it, which will probably mean cutting some of the floor pan out behind the driver's seat to route it, and cutting a hole in the sill for the exit. Again, this is what we'll see. We might be able to mate it to some of the ST exhaust that is on that Focus at the moment, because we've got an ST exhaust on it. If we can, happy days. But again, it's just something until we get the engine sat in and we can start looking at how to build the exhaust, we won't know. So at the moment, we can add to this, and we probably will add to this. At the moment, this is the 9 things? 3, 6, 9 hurdles that spring to mind this early in the project that we've got to consider. None of them are putting us off. We can think of ways to get around most of them already. Like I say, a lot of them we're not going to be able to look at properly until we get down to it. But nothing there is putting us off yet. So we could, hopefully we will be seeing a 3-litre V6 Mark II Ford Focus driving out of the Academy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, not. I've seen, like I say, one other one, but I don't know if it actually was a 3-litre or not. It had an ST200 manifold on it, which is a 2.5. So the 2.5's been put in them. 3-litre is pretty much apparently the same engine. So we'll see, but stay with us, see how we get on. We'll probably be doing quite a bit of content on this one. Obviously, in a couple of weeks' time, 2-3 weeks' time, maybe 4 weeks' time, we'll be doing a video when the guys come out to wrap the car and see how amazing that looks. So this is why we've got to do the engine swap, because we can't have a car looking like amazing with a 1.8 engine. I think the 1.8 makes about 120 brake horsepower. Obviously, the ST engine makes about 220, so it's a massive increase. If we do get the Gen V throttle bodies on it,
Hi, Gen V.
Hi, Gen V. If we do get their throttle bodies on it, that should take it to about 250 brake horsepower. So we will be doubling the brake horsepower of our track car just with an engine swap and a couple of other bits. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So we've waffled on for quite a bit on this video. Hopefully next time there'll be a little bit more visual stuff where we can see the engine coming out and that. But for now, we'll say
Goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.